Hi, I'm Bill Woodard and welcome to the Chamber Corner. We got a good program for you today. We were able to do an interview with our Mayor Michael NESBITT talking about his administration for the last 16 years and what he's going to be doing in the future. And we also talked to KRISTEN Sanders about the fitness center and about the Kids Central celebration that's coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. But right now, we're going to go to Miss Grace Harville for an installment of Seasoned with Grace.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Seasoned with Grace. This month is August and we all know what season starts this month. Tailgating season, yay. And so this month I'm going to be making a delicious hot broccoli dip that was given to me by my Aunt Bonnie, and it's absolutely delicious. And so first we're going to start off with 2.5 cups of finely chopped broccoli. 2 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, 1 package of ranch dressing mix, 1 block of cream cheese that's been softened, 2 cups of sour cream, and 1 package of real bacon bits. Alright, and now we're going to mix all of our ingredients together until they make this delicious dip. I wish y'all could smell it. It smells like ranch dressing, and it gives off a nice pungent flavor. I'm really excited to see how the county football teams do, Smith County and Gordonsville, as well as many of the college football teams. I'm a huge Tennessee Vols fan, so I'm going to be supporting them during their season. Oh, pesky broccoli. All right, so our dip is finished, and now I'm going to add it to our baking dish. You just want to make sure you spread that evenly in your pan so it bakes evenly. Alright, and to add sort of a crunch to our dip, we're going to add 1/3 cup of Ritz cracker crumbs. And you want to make sure you get it all across the top of your dip. Yum, yum, yum. And now we're going to put our dip in the oven at 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Here is our hot broccoli dip. It looks delicious, and you can serve it with either crackers or chips. Either one will be very good. And so now I'm going to taste a little bit of it. Look at that cheese, oh my goodness. It's very good. If you would like a copy of this recipe for my hot broccoli dip or any of the recipes that you've seen me do on Seasoned with Grace, you can go to my Facebook page called Seasoned with Grace. I hope you all have a fantastic August, and I hope your day is seasoned with grace. We'll see you next time.
Well, we are here in Mayor Michael NESBITT's office. Mayor, thank you for allowing us to come in and visit with you.
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, well, we've got something that's going to happen that's a little unusual in our county. You've been a mayor for the last 16 years.
Just 4 terms, that's all.
4 terms, yeah. Well, and so Michael is transitioning out into the I started to say real world, but you've been in the real world.
I've been in the real world, yeah.
He's transitioning out into another position, another job, and we thought it'd be good for you folks out there to kind of hear his thoughts as he was leaving the office, because 16 years, I'm sure you've ran into a lot of things and seen a lot of things that would be good to share.
Yes, sir.
So I've got actually 2 pages of a lot of points here. I'm not going to go down each and every one of these things, but I might just tick through a few of them. I think probably you want to hit on some of the last 16 years, some of the accomplishments that you've had. Like for instance, spending, you mentioned this in one of your articles. What's your thoughts on spending for the last 16 years?
All right. Well, and before we go there, if you don't mind, I'd just like to thank the people for allowing me to serve as their county mayor for 16 years. It's just, it's been some trying times, but it's mainly been really good. And you know, it's been the greatest learning experience that I've ever had. And I've worked a few jobs, owned my own business, worked at a bank for 8 years, and I've been doing this for 16 years. It's just been a great learning experience, and I think it would be good for anybody to serve in public service, some form or fashion. But back to spending, I think I can easily describe it as when I first took office in 2002, and this will make a lot of sense to a lot of people. The budget had already been set. That would have been for the 2002-2003 budget year. It had already been set. We come around to the next year, getting ready, to get toward the end of the year, and I saw a lot of requests come in, PO requests, requests for spending money. And I asked everybody, I said, what are you doing all this for at the end of the year? Well, everybody said, well, if we don't spend it, we'll lose it. And, me being from the private sector, I'm like, well, if you don't need it, don't spend it. That was my thought. And I shared with them that as long as I was a county mayor, that I would push for them to either maintain, or if they needed more, we would submit that and try our best to get those funds. But anytime they could keep from spending money, it would be wise not to spend those things. So as people began to learn and trust what I was telling them, we saw that really did work. If you had $2,000 left in your budget, you just didn't come up with some kind of way to spend it, you turned that back into the general fund. Well, what that did over time, that built that general fund up to allow us to have a better fund balance, which in turn allowed us to be prepared for emergencies. So that was one of the first things that I saw. And another thing too, and I know that county governments, period, the public, they don't really look at government spending very fairly. I mean, they think that government wastes money. And every purchase that's made comes across my desk one way or another. I mean, we're issuing a purchase order, and there's things that I question about. Yes, they do have money in the budget, but why were you spending this? And they'll answer those questions, and most of the time it's okay. But I think, as for the most part, whether it be federal or state or local, people are, in their mind, they think that the governments waste money. And I think it's important to say that we do try to watch what's spent here, and that really makes a difference, because not everybody can have everything they want. Everybody wants to make $100,000 a year. Well, everybody wants the newest office or the newest chair or the newest whatever, and sometimes we've got to deal with what we got. And when we really need it, that's when we need to spend it.
Well, that couples into the next area I wanted to go into. We've, over the last 16 years, seen a lot of new equipment, new buildings, things like that. And naturally, people are going to say, well, how's our debt? So would you kind of go through that? I know we've purchased 7 new patrol cars every year or every other year. We've had like 9 new fire trucks. So the Ag Center, I think, was constructed during your term. So talk about that and talk about our debt situation, because I think we're in better shape than maybe people realize.
Yes, sir, I agree with that. Well, one thing that, and I don't think I'm the smartest person in the world for sure, but for whatever reason, I figured this out early on. Of course, there was a fund within our county. It was called General Debt Service. And what I found out was it was not being utilized. It was sitting there gaining money, which you and I pay taxes, and you out there, you pay taxes. And to me, I don't think you should collect taxes from the people if you're not going to use it. I think you always have to have some emergency funding, rainy day funding. But to me, that money sitting there not doing anything really didn't make a lot of sense. So at what we did, we put that money to work. And if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere around 14 cents worth of property tax that went into that general debt service. And that's one of the first things we did, we built the Agriculture Center. Well, we didn't have to raise your or my taxes to pay for that. Now, we did acquire some debt over time. We didn't have enough money to pay for it right up front, but since then, I believe we've already paid that debt off. And So we've been able to utilize that. We built the Ag Center, we built a new senior center, built a new career center, new health department, new fitness center, and also a new Head Start facility. And how all that came about, of course, the career center was located in an old school over in South Carthage, and Commissioner Neely, he was commissioner of Tennessee Department of Labor. Well, the first time he ever come to visit Smith County, I was the mayor during that time. Of course, I went over there, and he walked into that facility over there, and he was disgusted that his people were in a facility like that. And he told me, he said, we're going to build a new facility. He said, we're not going to continue to be here. Well, I got to thinking about that, coming from the business side of things. I thought, you know, if they're going to rent a facility, why would we not build maybe a joint facility where we could have a senior center and a career center together, let the state of Tennessee, through another organization, the upcoming Human Resource Agency, because that's where they got their funding, was federal and state, let them pay for our debt on that building. So we built it, and that's how we're still paying for it today. I think we lack about 4 or 5 years on it, something like that, but that money has helped us do that. So we were able to utilize the money that we had in the general debt service, but on top of that, them pulling in rent. And since then, I've learned that government really doesn't need to be in the rental business. I don't know if it was a mistake or just a misfire on my part, but you know, government needs to stay out of the way of entrepreneurs. And you know, if there was somebody that could have built that building and rented it out, leased it out, that would have helped them to make a better living. So I don't. If it was today, I don't know that I'd have done it that way, but it's worked out very well for us. But we built a lot of things, and like you said, bought a lot of things. You know, through with the Sheriff's Department, we bought cars, and we haven't been able to buy 7 cars every year, but we've been able to buy 7 cars at least every other year. And so that helps them. And one thing that I noticed after being in office just a short period of time, we paid a lot of money for repairs on the Sheriff's Department cars because they had in excess of 200,000 miles on them. We were spending, it was one time it was 100, then it went 120. I think the highest it ever got was $180,000 a year in repair on patrol cars. And I thought, you know what, if we buy new cars, we won't have the repair to do, but we'll have a payment. So we looked at it and analyzed, you know, how does it weigh out? And on top of that, a car that's 200,000 miles, let's say they're in a high-speed chase, I don't know, I think I'd rather have a car that's got 30 or 40,000 miles on it running down the road at 80 miles an hour, and I had a car that was 200,000 miles running 80 miles an hour. So that's the reason we did that. And what we've done, we lowered our maintenance down to about a $20,000 figure. Then you've got a payment of about $60,000 a year. So technically, we lowered our expense by doing that. I say that's $60,000 on one set of cars. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll have 2 sets, which make it 120, and then you'll have 3 sets for 1 year. So you would back up to that $180,000 figure, but for the most part, you're either 120 or 60. So that really helped us. But you know, the fire trucks, we were buying old fire trucks, 20 years old, that had, you know, 80,000 miles on them. We were giving a lot of money for those, and they were going up all the time. So I talked to Mr. Carver, which is our county fire chief, Mr. Jackie Carver, and I said, what do you think about buying new fire trucks? He said, I think that'd be a good idea if we can afford it. When we put it out there, we put them out, our trucks we bought is $1,250,000, and the payment on it's, I think it's around $80,000 or $90,000 a year, and we put it on a 20-year note. So we've got our trucks that we started with, we know how we maintain them, we know how we kept them up, mm-hmm. And when we get done with 20 years, we've got a truck that we were buying, and they're all paid for. So that's all, that'll be finished here in not too long too.
Well, and then you'll be able to upgrade them if you need to,
yes,
because you don't have the payment. Well, a lot of grant funds applied for and received during this time, and the 2 things, I want to go back to the grant funds, but our county debt, is it as low as it's ever been? How are we on county debt?
I don't know if it's low as it's ever been, because I'm sure at some point in time in this county it was probably very minimal because there was a lot less to spend, but it's definitely lower than it was when I took office, because of course we had a school debt of $22,900,000. Mm-hmm. And that debt now is going to be paid off June the 30th of 2019, so we're going to be around a $3 or $4 million figure on it out of that 22. So we paid a lot of that off. And we built a new jail and courts facility, which I'm glad to do that. That was a $10 million project, so you take some off, add some on. It's lower than it was when I took office, but I would not say it's lower than it's ever been.
Yeah, I know it is very manageable and well under control. Right?
Oh yeah, The debt part of things is really that's not a concern, you know, because we've got the funds to be able to pay for that. I think it was stated one time that we borrowed all this money and we don't have a plan to pay it back. Well, I don't think I would ever borrow it if I didn't have the plan to pay it back. And we've always had a plan to pay it back.
Okay, we dropped off the $50 wheel tax. That was one thing that happened. Property tax rate, it's I believe 214 right
Yes, sir. The property tax rate is 214. And the highest it's been, I believe it got to probably 232, I believe is what it was. Of course, that changes because of your reappraisal year, and sometimes we'll raise taxes, but sometimes it'll come down because in reappraisal year, you can only take in the amount of money that you would normally take in. So it goes up and down depending on the value of property, which evidently the value of property in Smith County is very good at this point in time. There's a lot of homes being built. I think the tax assessor said the other day that he's put on 140 either new constructions or trailers, mobile homes, double wides, or major renovations. 140 in one calendar year.
That's tremendous.
It is.
Well, now another subject that comes up a lot is the landfill, and correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but the folks in Smith County do not pay any collection fee or anything right now, and there's no tax money that's went into that. It's basically run by the refuse that's coming in, where people pay a tipping fee to dump in there. And I know there's some talk about maybe slowing that down because we'll be able to, but why don't you talk about that instead of me trying to answer the question?
Well, I mean, in 2002, there was $100,000 from the general fund. It was brought over to the solid waste fund to help in the cost of the landfill. The landfill is called a proprietary fund, which means it's a business fund. And looking at it when I took office, I'm thinking, you know, this thing should survive on its own. And so we took that $100,000 out that was going to the solid waste, and we utilized that into the general fund because we needed it at the time to keep from raising your taxes, once again, mine and yours out there in the viewing public. And we were able to maintain that by the tipping fees. And just recently we've decided to go up on our tipping fees, and we generate quite a bit of money that way. But you know, you're never going to get rich in the landfill business because it's very expensive, to say the least. You know, we're fixing to build a new cell. That new cell is probably going to cost probably right at $3 million. Then we're doing a partial cap, which is going to cost about $1 million, and then we're doing a force main, which is going to cost about $300,000. So anytime you touch the landfill, I don't care if it's equipment or a cell, it just costs a lot of money. But the good thing about that, just like you said, at this point in time, there's no fees being charged, there's no taxes being charged. Do I think it's always going to be that way? I mean, if I'm honest with the people, I'm going to say I don't think so. You know, one time we had proposed a $5 a month fee that we would be able to generate some money that way per household. And honestly, I wished it had started that way because there's no other county, as far as I know, that are able to dump their trash at the convenience sites for free. Most of them, you have a main site where you bring it in, it's weighed, you pay a certain amount for that garbage. So I guess in a sense we're spoiled, and I'm just saying, you know, me and you, because I take my trash.
We're accustomed to not paying anything.
Yes, sir. So, you know, there's going to come a point in time, I mean, with the landfill, we need to reduce the amount of trash, and that was in our plan to begin with. I know it's been a big topic within the mayoral's debates, but that was been our plan too, and I hope that continues.
Well, going on down, another thing, highways and roads. I know the state legislature passed the Improve Act, and I think that's helped us financially. You want to speak on that? Yeah,
and I'd just like to talk a little bit about you know, as far as road funding in Smith County, kind of give you a little bit of history about it. When I took office, the highway department was getting 2 cents of the property tax. Well, we increased it to 4, and then 6, and then it went to 9 cents. Currently, the highway department gets 9 cents of the property tax, which is approximately $350,000 somewhere in that area. And of course, with the funding that the state did, you know, with the Improve Act, that brings in, every time it's all said and done, it'll bring in an additional $550,000 per year. And there's already a lot of state money goes into the highway department there too. So And on top of us increasing the tax going into the highway department trying to help them, we've also bought equipment, we bought trucks and paid for that out of the general debt service. Also, we borrowed some money for them for some road repair. So, you know, we don't just let the highway department kind of just survive on their own. We try to help them out, you know, with, they got a lot of work to do. I think there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 430 to 450 miles of county road in our county. And without the Improve Act money, and I know that I caught a lot of heat over that because I supported it. I went down there and spoke at Capitol that day with the governor, and the only reason I done that because I felt like it was the right thing to do. You know, I believe in paying our parts. You know, you can't have certain things if you're not willing to pay for it. And so I'm glad that happened, because honestly, I haven't noticed it hadn't hit my pocketbook that bad. You know, it has affected it some, but I hadn't stopped driving, so I don't think it's hurt me so much. I can't drive. And you know, be honest about it, if you go to the gas pumps, even before the Improve Act and the extra tax went on there, it could fluctuate 10, 12, 15, 20 cents sometimes at the pump just overnight. So I don't know that it's really been that noticeable, but I think it was a good thing. And I'm already seeing the improvement to our roads. Now, we got a long way to go because we got so far behind. You know, it's really not any fault to the highway department, but when you don't have the funding to do it, it's hard to do.
Well, and you're playing catch up all the time. Unemployment rate, it's as low as it's ever been.
That's a wonderful subject, isn't it? You know, that's just the other day I got a phone call from Mr. Eddie West with the Courier, and he said, "Did you realize that we're tied with 5th lowest unemployment rate in the whole state of Tennessee?" So out of 95 counties, we're tied with 5th lowest unemployment rate at 2.4, I believe is what it is. I can't find any records that it was as low as 3 point something back when a few months ago it was 3 point something. We don't have any records of ever being that low, so we're way under what it would be. But I don't want anybody to be misled by that. That's good news. But you know, on top of that, I don't know that unemployment is the biggest problem. Is underemployed. When I talk about unemployed, there are people that are not making good enough wages, and I think that our companies here, I think they're realizing that, you know, to get that person that can really put forth the work and show up to work on time, they have to pay a little bit more. And I think that's something you have to realize. But unemployment, there's more jobs here in Smith County than there are people available to fill those jobs currently. And we still got companies that are looking for jobs. And we employ people as far away as Kentucky. There are people that work at Bonnell that live in Kentucky. So there's a lot of people come into our county to work, but then we got a lot of people from our county that goes other places too. And I hope someday we can correct that. And I think we're currently right now, 54% of the people are driving outside the county, 46% of people are working in the county. And if we can make that 50-50, it helps us because those people stay here local. If you're working in Nashville, you worked all day and you're coming home, and so you got to buy some groceries or you got to stop and buy something that is available in Smith County, but the time you get home, it's after closing time. You stop in Wilson, or you stop in Sumner, you stop somewhere else, and you're not spending your money here either. So if we can put people to work here, and I know we're going to get to this in a few minutes, but that's one reason we looked at the industrial property and have purchased industrial property. We hope that we can get higher tech, higher wage type of job there at that parcel.
Well, I know we mentioned the debt already, but we didn't mention the bond rating. We have a bond rating now.
We do, and I guess I brought a little bit of that over from the banking side of me. Of course, I was a banker for 8 years before I was elected in this position, but if we had a bond rating, it hadn't been done in a long time. And whenever I had a gentleman that came in, Mr. John Warner with Cumberland Securities, and he'd come and see me. It seemed like every other week he'd come see me, and he said, "We need to refinance the school debt. We can help you." Of course, I never done any business with him, and you know, I'm not too I guess keen on salesmen. They come in there always trying to sell you something, and I just kind of brushed him off, you know, for it seemed like a month or two, and he finally come in one day. He said, "Mayor," he said, "I promise you," he said, "all you got to do is sign your name," and he said, "I can save this county money." And I thought, you know, I can't beat a deal like that. So I started working with him. We were able to refinance the school bond debt. Well, in that, when you do a bond issue, you have to go through a bond rating. Well, I mean, I never done a bond rating and didn't understand all the questions that was going to be asked to me, but I finally got it. And it was about a 30-minute interview on the phone with S&P, you know, with the rating company, and we got a AA. The first one we got a AA negative, and now I believe we've got a AA. We went up one notch, what it was, but the best bond rating is a AAA. So we're really doing well on that. And that might not sound like much to you, but what they see in that, they see good management, they see low debt, they see high revenue and expenses that are under control. So they understood that we knew what was going on here, and when I say we, between me and the finance department, we knew what was going on, and they felt like we had things under control, and the county commission had things under control, and they were fully aware of things. So that bond rating helps us when we borrow money. I mean, we just closed on a loan the other day for this industrial property, a 40-year note, which don't want anybody panic over that. I don't want us to, you know, go out 40 years, but kept it under that payment where we could keep it down until we get the excavation work done and sell the property. But we closed on that for 3.875 for 40 years, locked. And we've had some interest rates as low as 1.8% on a short-term note. And I wish me or you could borrow money like that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. That's a lot. It's a lot higher when you go to the bank.
It is. So it's beneficial. That bond rating is a beneficial thing.
Okay, we've done a lot of things with. I know. Did we talk about grants? We did talk.
Well,
about
you kind of touched base on it, and there's no. I can't begin to tell you. I think I lost track of it at about $6 million, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago. So there's no doubt in my mind that we probably exceeded the $12 million, $15 million figure on grants. And, you know, a big portion of that comes through the Assistant Firefighters Grant Program through the federal, there's a federal program. And the sad thing about that, I was unaware of it for probably 5 or 6 years, and then we were told about it. We've been awarded, I'd say, in the neighborhood of $1 million time it's all said and done through the AFG program. And it's a lot to keep up with. But you know, me and you pay our taxes, whether it be sales tax, gas tax, income tax. When I say that, we're talking about to the federal government. We file our income tax each year. Well, that money goes somewhere. All right, so my goal in that has always been to try to get as much money back to Smith County as we possibly can. Some people don't like grants because they require you to do paperwork. They require you to do reports. But we're willing to do that. What have we got to do to get that money? Because if we don't get it, somebody's going to get it. And if we can get it, not have to borrow that money or have to pay it out of local funds, I think that's a plus.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's been something, believe it or not, and I really, I don't know if who might be watching from agricultural department, but there needs to be more funds available for agricultural type of things. Like when we built the agriculture center, I mean, we didn't get any money for that. We got a small portion from the state of Tennessee through the Ag Enhancement Grant. But when I'm talking small, I'm talking about $20,000, $30,000 out of a million, like $1 million or something, you know. So it would be good to have that. But I understand there's some of those programs that have went to the farmer, which I think we always got to take care of the farmer first, you know, because they got to feed their families. They got to pay the bills. So, you know, is an ag center more important than a farmer feeding his kids? No, it's not. So I understand that. But it'd be nice if we could get some funding to help with some agricultural type projects.
Well, and that's one of the things, to backtrack a little bit, the Ag Center is one of the things that the county court stepped out and did that on their own for the betterment of the county. And I think it's proved to be a valuable asset.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. When we were building it, of course, there was a gentleman, and I won't mention his name, but he cornered me over at the ballpark, and he said, he pointed over to Ag Center, and he said, that won't never be used. And he says, that's the biggest waste of money ever. Well, you can't hardly find a date that's available. You know, somebody called me the other day about a date in December. Well, this is July, and there's 3 of the Saturdays out of December that was booked. So, you know, it's a busy thing. So, yes, the commission, and while I've got that on my mind, you know, 2002, there was a group of commissioners. In 2006, there were a group of commissioners. Then 2010, and then 2014, and they've all been good to work with, and but they all have differences too. I mean, there's different groups of people, but the commission, for the most part, has been very supportive of the projects that we've done. And honestly, I don't care who you think you are as a mayor, you can't do it without the county commission saying you can do it. Right. And they're the legislative body. You know, you might get to do the day-to-day operations, but if they don't say you can do it, you know, you really can't do it. So you're right. The commissioner stepped out on that, and they did, and it's been a plus for us. I don't know what we did before we had the agriculture center, where you could have an event, you know, inside of a facility, or at the chamber in a smaller room there, or even at the old courthouse. I don't know what we did for meeting spaces. I know that the National Guard Army was used quite a bit, but I don't know what we did then, because there's so much activity that's going on in Smith County, you know, and I sound excited, and I am. It might be that I only got 38 days left in office, but that's not it. I'm excited because Smith County, man, it's a wonderful place to live.
Oh yeah, well, we've got a lot of good things going for us. Well, you know, we didn't have a fair for 20 years. Right. And the fair got started back, and I think having the Ag Center available is the main reason that happened.
Oh yeah, but you know, the fair board, which I'm part of, and I know you're very active in that too, but you can't say enough good things about the fair board. You know, it's they really support. There's this real large number of people that's got their name on the list as being fair board members, but there's only a few. When I say a few, I'm talking about, yeah, well, I was going to say 30. There probably is 30 time you get all those. Yeah. About 30 people that are really doing the work, and it's amazing we can get what we get done, and they put money back into the agriculture center. So when you come out and support the fair, you're actually making it where we can have a better agriculture center for other events. I mean, they take up the fair for 3 weeks, or the ag center for 3 weeks. Week before, week of, week after. And that's just set up and have the event and then take down. And all the rest of the year, it's available, me and you, anybody else out there in the public that wants to use it. And it's not free. I don't want anybody to think it's free. I mean, it's a $200 a day usage fee. Just throw that out there, a little advertisement. But if you want to rent the Ag Center, you can always come through the mayor's office here. And that's what we keep up with, the reservations here.
Well, the wonderful part about that is, like you say, it's available the rest of the year. And I know some major improvements like electrical and some of the panels and things that have went on in there. The fair board has paid for that. Either fully paid for it or in conjunction with the county government. And then you've got service clubs like Rotary, and they build things and put it over there. So it's a continual improvement, and that's what we've got to have.
Well, I think one really good thing is that if you've got all these partners that are helping build county facilities up, such as Rotary, and they built a stage there that, well, they don't, honestly, Rotary don't use that stage. No, not really. And you know, it's used during the fair, but it can be used in that area over there. It's a peaceful place. Of course, it's named after Mr. Benny Watts, which worked for us, and it kind of reminds me of him. You know, it's just a peaceful place to go, and so that improvement helped the county. But what we did, we paid for the materials, and then the Rotary paid for the labor. Well, the Smith County ATV Association, whenever that they were using the arena, they provided the labor. We bought the materials to build that 2-story building out there. Well, they haven't been riding four-wheelers out there in a long time, but the building still sits on their property. So, you know, a thank you goes out to the Smith County ATV Association. Then Rotary's looking at building a concession stand. So those improvements, the fair has done a lot of improvements to electrical. I'd say that the fair has probably put $300,000 or more into the agriculture center. I wouldn't doubt that. And you know, I want to say this while we have this opportunity too. It would have never started if it hadn't been for a gentleman by the name of Carson Maxwell. Yeah. And you know, I can't say enough good about Mr. Carson. When he took me over to what is the Ag Center now. We're driving back through there, and of course, seriously, there was weeds that were over the hood of my truck, and there were ditches that you could probably bury a car in, and it was in a rough shape. And he said, "This is where the agriculture center is going to be." Well, I didn't say it with my mouth, but in my mind, I thought, I don't see that happening. It's kind of like whenever you said you was going to move the depot from Gordonsville to South Carthage. I didn't say it with my mouth, but I thought in my mind, I said, there ain't no way that's going to happen. But things do. You know, it's amazing. If you put forth the effort, you can really do a whole lot. But Mr. Carson, he meant a lot to me then, still means a lot to me today, probably more today, and I didn't appreciate it enough while he was alive. And I thank his family for keeping up with his dream through there at the Agriculture Center. And Mr. Russell Nixon, that's another one. You know, the arena is named after the horse arena there, the walking horse show. Right. He was in the Civitan Club whenever it started. And so we named the arena after him.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks in past and a lot of folks now that are really invested in
Oh
Smith
yeah,
County.
you take
It's a
Anthony
good thing.
Apple, Stan Webster.
Oh yeah, those two guys,
yourself.
they deserve, Anthony and Stan, they deserve a gold star because they really work hard.
Matt Gann,
Matt
Philip Evans, Ralph Coble. Get to thinking about those people. I mean, they put blood, sweat, and tears in that place. I mean,
It really made a difference.
they did.
And
And
are
Jerry
making a
Futrell,
difference.
Jerry
Jerry
Futrell.
Futrell.
You know, he put his own money towards it, not taxpayer money. His money out of his pocket.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I guess we need to get down to some. I asked you some questions here for future. What are the projects or areas that you'd like to see the next mayor take up and run with?
Well, I think for sure that there's one. It's a real important project, and I hope the public's aware of it. But we recently, after 9 years on one piece of property and approximately 16 years on another piece of property, we actually closed on the property July the 16th. It's 119 acres on the north side of Rogers Road for industrial purposes. You know, of course, the comment's been made that, you know, the terrain is not the best terrain, and I realize that, but what I would really like for people to know, and I didn't know it till I took office, I mean, if you get to do a little bit of studying, if it's flat in Smith County, it's more likely it's in a floodplain. If it's not in the floodplain, it's going to be hills, rolling hills, and sometimes it's worse than that. And the property we bought, it's going to have to be cut down quite a bit. But that's a real important project. The reason that's important, of course, we purchased it for $1,325,400. And we borrowed $1.1 million from USDA Rural Development at that 3.875 rate. But then we got a $350,000 grant from TVA to help us in the purchase of it. And then we got $101,000 from Tennessee Central, which was partially for the purchase, partially for environmental studies and those kind of things. But so we don't have $1,325,400 tied up into it as local money. We've actually got probably right at $1 million tied up within local money. Then there's going to have to be the excavation cost, which I was really excited, just like you were as a chamber director and as a county commissioner, as a resident of this county. You know, we got an announcement that we applied for that $1 million site development grant, and honestly, I didn't know that we would get it, but we did. We were one of two communities in the state of Tennessee. There was only, I think, $12.2 million that was given throughout the whole state, and we got one of two $1 million grants. The rest of them were like $50,000, maybe another was $300,000, $500,000. So that's to be used exclusively for the excavation work, which we got an estimate out there about $1.8 million to do the excavation work, and that's to take that contoured land and bring it down. Some places it'd probably be cut, maybe cut as much as 20 feet, if not more. But some places won't have to be cut at all, just topsoil stripped off of it. And you know, we had it core drilled. We did any kind of test you could do on that property. We did environmental tests. We did geotechnical tests where we drilled holes in the ground to see what we're dealing with underground before we bought it. We had appraisals done on the property. What's it worth? You know, we give $1 million for a piece of property, and the appraisal was 900 something. But I know of properties that's been bought for a whole lot more and worth a whole lot less. And we did give a little bit more than what it was worth, but it was still worth a lot to us. So that's one project that definitely has to be out there for the next mayor. And another thing, I'd like to continue to see the agriculture center and our park system continue to grow. I think you're going to see that with tourism. You're going to see that with people want activity. They want to be able to do things in their community. You know, we were told one time by one group of community that we're culturally deficient. Well, we've been working on trying to get that changed, and it kind of made me mad when they said it, you know. And I don't think we're culturally deficient, but maybe it is in some people's eyes. But I think we've got to continue to advance our park system, our agriculture system, our agriculture center. And I think another goal for the next mayor is for employee benefits and employee salaries. For the most part, the public thinks that county government employees make a lot of money. It's quite the opposite of that, because the private sector, I mean, you take, and I don't mind telling anybody, the mayor makes about 80, I think it's right around 81,000, something like that. But in the private sector, you take a person that's a CEO of an agency as big as this is, I mean, they're going to make 200,000 probably. You know, it's just I'm not saying I'm worth $200,000, but that's in the real world. Then you take HR people. I know plenty of HR people that make $80, $100, $120,000 for an agency this big. Well, you know, this HR person here in this county don't make that kind of money. So there's a lot of improvements there. I know that the discussion have been had with our budget and finance. You know, we've got the sheriff's department employees, deputies, jailers. You got EMS paramedics and EMTs that need to make more money, and we need to be able to retain good people. And I want them to consider employees of this county. They are good employees, and you know, the way that you do that, of course, it's always, you know, where you're going to get the funding. And we've tried to increase that a little bit over time, but that's something that's going to have to be worked on. And I think that next person, that's going to be one of the things that they'll tackle. And you know, the landfill you mentioned, you know, that's something that it's going to be that's a project within itself. I mean, it really is. It's just something you deal with. You know, not every county has a landfill, but the landfill was there when I took office in 2002. It's still there today, and it'll be there to deal with for years to come.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Okay, what's the transition process and period for the incoming mayor?
Well, the day after election, I'm going to hit the road. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I have told all the candidates that I have spoken to, you know, whoever is successful in that endeavor. The election is August the 2nd. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Election is August the 2nd. That is on a Thursday. We'll know by the end of that day who the new mayor is, and I will work with them. You know, my last day in this office is August the 31st. My wife and I were talking about that this morning. She wanted to know, can you take off on August the 31st? I said, no, that's my last day at work. I can't take off because I'm going into my next job September the 4th, so I'm going from one job to another. But I plan on being here for that person, and I have told each candidate that I'll be there. I'll be here in this office. I'll answer any questions I possibly can. I'll be as open as I possibly can. So I didn't really necessarily have that benefit. You know, I don't know it's because whether I took it or it just wasn't available, but regardless, I'll be here for that. There'll be a 30-day phase-in period, and I told you, and I told the Budget and Finance Committee, and I'll tell any of the mayors that they want to. Even after that August 31st, I'll be available, and you know, I can't jeopardize my new job, you know, to spend hours and hours there, but I don't mind helping, and I think that's what we got to do. I mean, and when I say this, I really do love Smith County. I think surely, for the most part, people know that I love Smith County, and I want to see it do well. And I don't want it. You know, it wouldn't be right to sit here and say, I'm just going to walk away and let the person fall on their face, or let them take, you know, 12 months to 2 years to get up to speed. We'd be better off get up to speed right off the bat and answer those questions and help phase that in, where we can continue to be a great community, mm-hmm. which we are.
Well, that brings up 2 more questions. I'm going to ask you this one first. What departments are you directly responsible for operationally right now as mayor, and of course the new mayor would be in charge of? What are those?
And I think a lot of times people misunderstand that too. They think all the elected officials work for the mayor. That's not true. I don't control, you know, the sheriff, who he hires, who he fires. I don't deal with his day-to-day operation, none of that. But the departments that are under direct supervision of the county mayor, first of all, anybody that I've got a director, like the solid waste director, Mr. Johnny Lee, does a wonderful job. And we're in constant communication every day. So the solid waste department, which is the landfill, that's one. Mr. Jeff Crockett, which is our EMS director, that's the second one. Now that's the ambulance service. And we're in communication most every day. He's a very busy man, and I am too, so sometimes we don't get to talk. The planning office, the land use administration, which is where zoning, our building permits, those kind of things that go through. Ms. Sonia King is our land use administrator. That's another office that's underneath the mayor as far as in direct supervision. And also the finance office, which Ms. Daisy Denton is the director over the finance department, and she has 3 additional people that work for her. So that's landfill, EMS, planning, and the finance department. Also, you have the maintenance department. You know, I have 3 maintenance guys, normally, or maintenance personnel, excuse me, through most of the year. But during the summertime, we're so busy, we hire a fourth person that comes in, and that's in the past historically has been somebody that's in maybe a junior or senior in high school, and then they start college. When they're off during the summer, they can help us, and it helps them to pay some of their bills while they're in college. So the maintenance department, of course, is over. They're responsible for all the maintenance of all county buildings. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood. They mow about 40 acres of grass a week, and some of it they mow twice a week, like ball fields and things like that. And they're also, they're having to, if there's a light blow about or a water leak or a commode gets stopped up, they're there for doing that. And then we have the custodial department, which cleans all the buildings, and we actually have 2.5, actually one part-time, or 2 part-time and 1 full-time person that does that. And they're responsible for cleaning all of the buildings, the Chamber of Commerce, the Turner Building, the Agriculture Center, Health Department, Senior Center. It's the more buildings we build, the more responsibilities that we have. And so those are the departments that are under the direct supervision of the county mayor. All the other elected officials, they're really their own boss. They answer to the people, just like I answer to the people. People ask me sometimes, who's your boss? I say, I got 19,166 of them, because that's the population as of last census.
That's right, and that's who you have to work for. Okay, that brings us to, I guess, our final question. Can you talk about your endeavor that you're going to follow after you leave the mayor's office? Yes,
sir, I can. And just like to, and I talked about this just the other day. I don't know that if I was running as a new mayor today, I don't know that I'd be successful today in winning the election. But I think my past life before 2002, I think it's what helped me get elected. I grew up on a small farm and defeated. My dad expected us to work, me and my sisters, and he expected us to work. So we all had to have a work ethic. But I come to know a group of people because we were farmers. There was a group of people there that we were in constant contact with. And then after that, of course, I owned my own business for a period of time. I owned an auto parts business, and most people that fool with cars are not farmers. So I got to know another group of people, and of course, I still work on my own car and stuff. They won't call mechanics grease monkeys, but they're high paid people now. Mechanics are.
Very skilled.
After I sold the auto parts business, I got a call from Mr. Tom Pascal, and he was the CEO of Cumberland Bank at the time, and he asked me if I wanted to come to work for the bank, and it kind of took me. I thought, that's a white collar job. I don't know if I'm qualified for that, and I went to work for them, and actually worked for 8 years, and actually I was working for them whenever I ran for office. So I think through the years of farming, through the years of dealing with mechanics, and then going on white collar, I think that got me around several groups of people, which helped me to get elected. Because really, when it comes to campaigning, it's a whole lot different world today. I was going door to door, and I know there are people going door to door now, and did a few yard signs, but now there's a lot of social media and a lot of just digital advertisements and those kind of things, which are very expensive. And I don't know. I know that's a long answer to your question. I'm going to get to it, but the same gentleman that I worked for at Cumberland Bank called me just probably about a month or so ago, and he asked me, Mr. Tom Pascal, asked me if I wanted to come back to work for him at Bank Tennessee. So that's where I'm going to work. Bank Tennessee is located, their main headquarters is in Collierville, Tennessee, but I'm going to be working out of the Lebanon office there on Hartman Drive, right across from the high school they built there in Wilson County. So I'm excited about that, a little bit nervous, because that's a new endeavor for me. I haven't been in the banking business in 16 years, and a lot of things have changed. But sure. I like excitement. I like adventure. So I'd say I'm fixing to get it.
Okay. Well, Mayor, I want to say thank you for allowing us to come into your office and talk with you. And we certainly wish you well on your new endeavor that you're going toward. And I think I speak for many of the people in Smith County. We sure thank you for your efforts that you've done the last 16 years. And I think history will mark out that you had a pretty big impact on the county.
I hope so. I think the old saying goes, I hope that I've left it better than I found it, and I really think we have. But I say again, you can't do that by yourself. There's a lot of people that goes into this. A man that would sit here and say, I've done all this myself would be a fool, because I hadn't done it all myself. I've had good staff, had good county commissioners, so I'm not naive enough that I did all that myself. But I would, take opportunity. You've been on the county commission the whole time I've been as county mayor, and you were a county commissioner for 24 total years up to this point. Right. And I thank you for what you've been able to help me with. I think about some of the commissioners through the years that have been really helpful. I think about Mr. Jerry Futrell, which is, gone to be with the Lord. Mr. Les Prophet, he has too. And boy, they were so beneficial to me. Mr. Jerry Futrell, there's no telling how much advice he'd give me. And he'd give that to me and freely gave it to me. So, there's been a lot of good people in my life. And, my family, I just can't say enough about my family. For my family to put up with, this is, a lot of people, they go to work, they work from 8 to 4, 9 to 5, or 7 to 5, whatever it is, and that's the end of their job. Well, this job is most time 7 to 8, 9, 10 o'clock. You've been budget finance meeting. We've had budget finance meetings as late as 11 o'clock at night before.
Yeah, I remember a few of those.
Yeah. So I have to thank my family. My children have grown up while I've been in this office. 6 and 9, I believe, when I took office. So it's been a good trip. It really has. And when I say that, I mean it's been a good adventure. It's been a good travel, and I'm thankful I had the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hey folks, Kristen and I want to tell you about something. We're on a committee together. It's called the Kids Central Celebration Committee, and we're on that with several other people as well. And Miss Kim Maynard, help me out here.
Kim Maynard, Connie Holder,
Michael Nesbitt,
Megan Kinslow.
Yeah, and I hope we're not forgetting somebody. If we did, we'll get in trouble. I know we're in trouble. Anyway, we want to tell you about Kids Central Celebration. It's going to be September the 8th, is that right? Okay, and we've got a lot of things going on. It is an event over at the Kids Central Park where the big soccer ball is at, Crump Parish Park area, and it is designed for the residents of Smith County. Kristen, you want to tell them a little bit about what's going on?
Sure. So it's a family event. We offer free food. There's several vendors there that focus on kids' health, adult health. Various things are going on there. In the past, we've had the zoo come and bring animals. That was last year. They brought several different animals and kind of did a show for the kids. There's several different performances that go on. Some local bands come and perform. We also have a 5K that we started last year. That starts at 9 a.m. And we also have a 1 mile fun run that starts at 10:15. And those are 2 new additions that have been added. We have face painting. There's been, popcorn machines. The helicopter, Life Flight has come several times.
You get to look in the helicopter?
Yeah, the helicopter will come and land, and the kids can go and look in that.
Sheriff's Department has several patrol cars there?
Yes, there's all the ambulance service, different things like that. You can go in and look at those cars.
And then DTC has come several years, in fact every year that I can remember, and that you can do like a impaired driving type thing on a golf cart.
Yes.
And it seems to be a lot of fun, and it kind of makes the point. The other thing, Highway Patrol's there. They show you what happens in a crash.
Yes.
And one year we had the smokehouse.
Yes, the smokehouse comes.
For the fire, and so there's a lot going on. And then I know, well, I'll plug this anyway, Upper Cumberland Electric Membership Corporation, they have their annual meeting usually right up the road.
Yes.
So, Kristen, you mentioned the free food, right?
Yes.
Well, there's free food there. There's free food here. Folks, if you want to eat that day, you need to come to the Kids Central Park, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we also give out door prizes. So the event is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can sign in when you arrive and get entered into the drawing for door prizes that are drawn about 1:30 or 1:45. So.
Okay, and there's entertainment too. I forgot right about that. Well, there's a stage, they have entertainment, they usually have a comedian, they'll have people singing.
Yes.
I know we do a flag raising, the Boy Scouts are there.
The Boy Scouts come,
and then under the tents, you've got all of these different departments that are there, and they're wanting to give away stuff.
You can get a bunch of freebies. Dentist offices are there, doctor's offices come.
They gave free eye exams one year, free hearing tests, and I'm trying to think of what else. There were several other things there. So it's a really good day to come by, plus you've got the Kids Central Park there.
Yes.
So if you've got a small child, say, from 0 to 10, 11 years old, or even older, they can come in there and play in the park, and there's a lot of good equipment there. And that's why we do it, to get people to be aware of some of the things that are available here in Smith County. I think you'd have a lot of fun, and we hope you'll come to Kids Central. Kristen, did we miss anything? Did we mention the free food?
I think we did, yes. Free food and a bunch of freebies you can get. So.
Okay, all right. Well, if that's it, it's September the 8th.
Yep, at 10 a.m.
10 to 2.
10 to 2.
And it's at the park. And so you guys come on out and visit with us. We hope you enjoyed this edition of the Chamber Corner, and we'll see you next time.